Okay, my angels, here's what I did. I shredded, well, I didn't shred. I cut two, oh wait, I have to get the boiling water. I have to get the kettle on. Okay, I have sliced up into two carrots and 4 or 5 scallions, also known as green onions, for a final stage. I have a cup of, oh sorry, bean sprouts for a final stage. I sliced up my 10 ounces of white button mushrooms. I minced my 3 cloves of garlic, and I shredded half a Savoy cabbage. I actually don't think I'll use all of this, but at the end, we may, I might not use all of any of these ingredients. But the fact is, this happens so quickly that everything has to be prepared. Kind of like when you do a stir fry. There's no time to like slice and things when it's all happening. So I have half a Savoy cabbage. Now I prefer, the water's boiling, hold on. I prefer a Napa cabbage because the leaves are very thin and they're kind of like crepe paper. But the Savoy cabbage has that same effect. So it kind of it's quite easy to eat. I want to now I have a pound of rice vermicelli. You could use capellini pasta, but I'm not really into that. I have a lot of different sized rice, and I want rice noodles, and they're really easy to get here. So I want to do half. Let's see. This was a whole pound, so half is, I don't know, probably that much. So I put that back, and now we're going to pour hot boiling water over it. As I said, this is a one-pan dish. If you don't count this as a pan, so we're just going to cover it and let soak for 5 to 10 minutes. And then we're going to drain it. But I can tell right now that it's not all in the water. I guess I didn't boil enough. But you just have to separate it out a bit and let that sit. But you don't let it sit forever, or else it will get gummy. Okay, so there's that. Then we have our steak. It's rather large, but this could be used for, I don't know, for this dish, 4 people maybe. I don't even know how I'm going to serve it. Well, I know how I'm going to serve it, but I don't know to whom I'm going to serve it. So we're going to rub the olive oil in and season it with salt and pepper. However, my hands are now greasy, but I prefer to oil it before I season it. So, here's the pepper from a height. By the way, we're just searing this. It's going to cook in the broth. I haven't shown you the broth stage, but the broth and everything's going to be cooked in this one large skillet. So here's some salt. I'm going to use my greasy hand to turn this over. Salt this side. And, probably a little much, but that's okay. And then the pepper. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. I'm going to cut away at this stage because I don't want to, then we're going to get the oil in the pan. I don't want to have my noodles coming out of the water while I'm cooking the steak for the purposes of the video. Otherwise, I would be able to manage that. But, you know, it's harder when you're doing this. Anyway, I'll be... Okay, now I have to turn the phone off with my wet hand. Hold on. Okay, folks, so we're getting our pan up to temperature. We want to shimmer. More or less has that, but I want to show you how the rice vermicelli fared. It's beautiful, and there's quite a lot, so probably more than I need. But I am covering it so that it doesn't dry out. Just with a plate or a lid. And let's get some water on here. We want to sear this. It's not quite, I don't see a lot of sizzle. It's not ready. But I got to get my tongs out. My favorite restaurant tongs. Woo! And when I hear the water sizzling, I'm going to add the beef. This is a T-bone, like I said, and I don't know if I said it, but I wrote it. That I used a skirt steak, a much cheaper cut for this because of the way it gets cut in the end. And I really don't want to cook it like all the way through. I want it to be rare because we're going to let it tent it and let it rest, and it's going to cook in the broth. And I would like it to be medium rare at the end. So I think I need the window open. I need the kitchen fan on. I'm just running over here for that. And I see it shimmering. Let's just put it in. So, you know, because I let it rest to room temperature, it should not take more than 3 minutes on each side. Also note, it's not a full inch thick. I'm going to place the timer on so I know what so I can gauge what I'm doing. I'm going to put it on for 4 on the one side. But we'll see at 3. I also want to use the finger test. This is well done, medium rare, and this is how steak feels when it's rare. I'd be happy with medium rare. That doesn't bother me. So I have the timer on. I'm going to come back to you when it's time to flip it. Okay, folks, it's been 3.5 minutes. I want to cancel that timer. I don't know how. But I've achieved the golden look that I want. And so I'm just going to do 3 on this side. I just need to figure out how to get this timer off. And using my finger, it's almost there. I noticed that the fat has browned. We're not going to use the fat, but it's nice that it's browned. Reason being, we're going to use the juices and fat of the steak to cook the mushrooms in with the garlic. I might not even leave this in 3 whole minutes. Remember I said I brought it to room temperature, and that's so you get an even cook. You don't have a situation where you have it blackened on the outside and raw on the inside. That's what you get when you don't start with a cold piece of meat straight out of the fridge. And then all the timings are off, and also the cook. Let's see here. Lots of brown bits. It's going to go right back on this plate and going to be tented. I'll have to find the Get ready with the foil. And then it can get out of your way. And we can start with the next stage. I don't know. Let's see. It's kind of hot for this. But remember, that's rare. Well, that's been 2 minutes. I only flip it once. I don't see a reason not to flip it any other way. Okay, it's been 3.5, and I'm a little bit worried that we're overcooking it. Well, that looks quite browned and golden. So now I'm going to throw the mushrooms in right away with the garlic, using and turning it down to medium. Wait, I want to get that off. Tent this. I took it off because I know that my pan gets really hot. And all of the oil is already gone from the steak. That looks good. I can't really breathe right now. But we want to get the bits from the steak mixed up with the mushrooms. And they're sweated and browned. And now we're going to add 6 cups of beef stock. I was waiting till we got to this stage so that I would stop choking. I'm going to bring this to a boil now. Turn it up. So we turned it down for the mushrooms, added the garlic, and now we're going to stir in some flavorings. I'm going to do 3 tablespoons of soy. That's how I did it before. 1, 2, 3. I'm not calling this an Asian dish. It's just Asian inspired. And then I have the rice vinegar. So when this comes to a boil, we're going to simmer it. We're going to turn it down and simmer it. Rice vinegar is fairly pungent. It's meant to cut down on the fat. So I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. 1, 2. We're going to bring it to the boil, and we're going to season it, and that's the broth. Oh, not season it. We're going to add our vegetables that will get a little bit cooked, and that will be the broth that will end up cooking with the cooking the meat. Okay, friends, we have a boil going on here, and we want to. Okay, well that wasn't intentional. We want to get this off the heat. Turn that off. I just spilled some. Here I want a cup of bean sprouts. Here's the carrots. This is going to cook in the broth. I'm going to add all of the carrots, all of the bean sprouts. I'm going to throw in some more of the onions, but I want to reserve some for garnish. More carrots. It doesn't look like I chopped up too many. Okay. Oh, that has a lovely aroma. Now, unfortunately, this is really hot and I have to slice up the beef. So I'm going to have to put this somewhere where it won't tip over. Here we go. If it tips over, I might end up in the hospital. Oh, so here's where my spill comes into play. I don't want it spilled. Cleaning up. Soaking up that spilled broth. By the way, broth and stock are not the same thing. I'm not going to get into it here, but they just aren't. Stock is something you make with bones, and broth is something you make with stock. So here's our meat, and I want to get, ooh, that's nice. I want to get my long knife out, and I think this warrants a little bit of honing, because we want to cut very thin slices. Up to the tip, up to the tip, up to the tip, up to the tip, up to the tip. You get it. Anyway, so let's see. I'm going to need a fork. By the way, that broth is still very, very steamed, very hot. And I just want to I actually am going to pour this delicious meat juice into it. As always, it's the purveyor of fine flavors. Fine cost. Okay. Then we don't need, I'm going to use that, but let's see how we did on the cook. I don't need this fat. That was great for the cook and for the flavor. Carve it off. I think I have medium rare here. If not, I have medium. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to save this delicious jus and pour it into my stock. Maybe I'll put this stock situation back on here, so you know, as off the heat as I can get. It's still steaming. And then we're going to, where's my long knife? Okay. This is the cut. Oh yeah, it's actually medium. It's not medium rare. I could sort of tell that by the touch. When I did the touch test, it should have been more like 2 minutes on each side. But I wasn't sure. Still looks good. Keep going. And you know, it's basically done at this stage. We take our delicious thin slices. And by thin, I mean really thin. Like 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters, no, 2 millimeters. 2 or 3 millimeters. And we're going to make a lovely bowl of seared steak in a broth. So let's go get the bowls. These look beautiful. I still have that to cut. Alright, let's get a bowl. Anyway, so we have to get our lovely big ladle. And we're going to ladle the broth with the vegetables into the bowl. I have a big pasta bowl here. I think that's probably the best way. This is not a thing you can serve family style, for obvious reasons. You need to present each person with their own bowl. I want to throw in some cabbage. Actually, I should put all the cabbage in there. I should have put all the cabbage in. That was my mistake. All the cabbage goes in. It's still really hot. There's residual heat and it will prove, and I'm not using it all. Ow! Freaking hot. Okay, so I just want to put that in the liquid. It'll be a little bit crude, a little bit, what do you say, al dente? But it's still really good. So let's put some more cabbage, like that. Not that much. Put that in there. And get this going. Kind of like how it looks without the cabbage. Just mix it in. And then we're going to top it with vermicelli. Could be use 2 forks for this, but I'm using my hand. It's clean and I'm going to eat this myself. Alright. Break it off. Place the meat over it. It'll continue to cook in this broth. I think that I want more broth. So let's go. More broth with mushrooms. I'm going to pour it over top. I don't know if you can see that. I'm pouring it, more broth with mushrooms over top. And then I'm going to add a garnish like that. And I don't know. Looks pretty good. What do you think? It smells amazing.